Welcome to Total Agent Access, where we interview the most inspiring real estate agents in the world to share with you the best advice from our brightest minds. With your host, me, Colin Breadner. We are back. Today, we're going to mix up a little bit, and we are going to dive into everything inside sales today on the podcast. So one of my passions is inside sales, talking to leads, and more so conversion of leads. And we have none other than the best on the podcast today, Courtney Carroll, who is an ISA on the Jennifer Jones team, which is one of the top teams in all of Canada. And we're going to learn everything about being an ISA today. Amazing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
This is truly a pleasure to have with my team as well. We have dived in the past probably about a year and a half onto the online lead generation system. That's just one of our three pillars that we focus on. And it has become a real passion of mine to train the team on how to talk, more so what to say to people in order to help them at the highest level. So I'm really looking forward to this call ever since we booked it. So this is awesome. So I will shut up here and can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started as an ISA?
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for having me. So I am a licensed agent. I've been one for almost 14 years. And I guess after my first, who's about to be 11, first child was born, I guess
time goes by quickly.
Yeah, just to clarify, like all agents, I'm sure it was a struggle trying to still keep up the schedule of showings and open houses. And my husband has a home improvement company, so we were on the same schedule. So kind of went into a dark hole, had a second kid and decided we needed a better way to do this. And so I wouldn't say awesome, but comfortable with prospecting for myself to generate business. The problem was I would get it and it was like panic would set in. Like, how am I going to service these people? It's such a hassle to drop the kids at different babysitters. So I had done a few transactions with Jennifer Jones, who is she's so amazing.
She's wonderful.
She's such a gift.
Yeah.
So reached out to her and was like, hey, I have this idea. What if I just make calls and book you appointments? And if you sell them, pay me a referral. And if you don't, no harm. So that's how it started. I had this, cute idea that it would be part-time and it would just be a couple times a week. And if you've ever met Jen, she loves to push you and help you grow. And so, it's definitely grown a lot since then, which was about 7 years ago. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So how do you think, you said you went from thinking it was part-time to what it is now. Yeah. And how has your role evolved during that time?
So it was new for her. And like I said, it was kind of going to be this part-time. I just do it a couple days a week for a few hours. And that was working. We probably did 6 or 7 deals over the first 4 or 5 months, just doing that, calling around, just listed, just sold. And then she had on the team, like as the agents, they had started doing some online leads and weren't really getting anywhere. So she pitched the idea, like maybe I could take over and start doing it. I saw the opportunity and then it was just like game on. So it's evolved now, it's full-time. We have part-time ISAs that do calls as well. We operate like a pond for all our agents to be calling around. And then I just kind of manage everything as far as that goes. So it's grown.
Wow. How many ISAs on your team now?
We just have 2 part-time ISAs, and then we have 3 agents who have transitioned into ISA as well, actually just over the last few weeks. So
now it's very different in terms, most people start off in the ISA role and move towards being an agent.
Yeah.
You have people going the other way around.
So it's funny that you say that. I have been really pitching it. Like, I think it's so cool that you can make really great money as a licensed agent and not have to do it because it's, there are agents who love doing all the showings and running around in that madness and don't want to ever pick up a phone. So if you have someone that's like, hey, I can just spoon feed you leads and you just pay me a referral, like it's such a good setup. So I think not maybe just moms, but for me as a mom, it was important to be like there before school, after school. If you're moving into like a retirement stage of real estate and maybe this is exhausting, but you still want to keep a business growing, or, I don't know, going into the summer, even if you have a nice cottage and you don't want to leave the cottage in the summer, like why not just make calls and book other agents who want to be out there? So I've been really pushing it. And I think people are slowly coming around to my dark side here, my introverted corner, where I just make phone calls to strangers and not outside. So
Yeah, I like that a lot. Being an introvert myself,
yeah,
it sounds very appealing. What are the primary responsibilities of an inside sales agent in the real estate realm?
Yeah, so that would be finding leads. You can use, different avenues. If it's online or just listed, just sold. So finding them, nurturing them, and taking them to a point where they're meeting the agent in person is where you're most successful, I think, as an ISA.
How does the collaboration work with the agents? Like, how do you do the handoff?
Yeah, so we're still working in like communication throughout the process. Not as much because you can get carried away, and you really both want to focus on your main roles. It's just making sure you have good synergy and there's a good handoff between the leads. Sometimes you nurture these people for 2, 3, 4 years, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and here's Joe, and they're like, well, wait, well, who's Joe, right? Like, so you
Right,
have that relationship. So it's just a matter of making sure you're edifying them and putting them in the best hands and explaining why you're making that handoff, and that they show up at the same level, which is the biggest thing, right? That the agents
for
they're
sure.
showing up at that same energy that you did, and that's pretty much how it goes. And we still work back and forth if they get people and they weren't maybe as good of a lead as they want, they can give us those feedback. Not actually really open to criticism, but I pretend I am. And then same with them. Like if they're not responding the way we've expected them to with our leads, our clients, however you want to say it, letting them know. I tag them through our CRM all the time. Like, hey, have you touched base with this person? Because they're active. So just working back and forth, helping each other.
What CRM do you use?
Follow up boss.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm total. My whole team addicted.
Oh, really?
We're
Yeah.
like addicted follow-up boss users. Totally. Now, in that handoff and talking to other inside sales agents, how do you explain it to the actual lead that, especially if you've nurtured them over years and then they're ready and in the position, being an A buyer, they're going to buy in the next 3 months. How do you have that conversation? Well, I'm not the
Right.
actual person that's going to be out there
Yeah.
showing you homes.
So I tend to lean on if it's like geography, I want to make sure you're working with the local specialist who knows the area the best is going to service you way better. Or if it's like a waterfront, I want to put you in the hands with a waterfront agent. There's just so many things involved, and I want to make sure the best person is helping you out. And I'm still here as a team member. We're going to work together and service you and make sure we get the best outcome. So just leaning on their specialty, whatever it is, wherever the reason.
What does that nurture process look like from day one? Let's say the lead comes into follow-up boss, and you give them a shout. How does that nurture process work to contract?
Like once I've talked to them.
Yeah. Well, the first is a phone call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the first is a phone call, and then a lot of phone calls until they answer. Quite not aggressive. That's the wrong word. Active. So lots of phone calls. And then once we've made that first communication, regardless of their timeline, and I think this is so important, and it's a step that always gets missed, is emailing that evening. Like, hey, Colin, thanks so much for your time on the phone today. Acknowledge, I know your timeline's still another year or two out. Just want to make sure you have my contact information in case anything changes. I follow up 3-4 days later, regardless. I mean, if they're super active, maybe earlier, but regardless of their timeline, with a text. Hey, Colin, just want to make sure you got our emails and those property alerts are getting out of the spam folder. So there's that. And then a phone call, probably a week after that. Hey, want to make sure you got my emails and my text message if they didn't reply. And again, if they're 2 years out, it's the same thing, because I really want to like solidify that relationship at the beginning, make sure all our avenues of communication are working, that they do get my email, they are getting my text message, and that I'm here. And then after that, the plan would just kind of depend on how long it is till they're ready to go out. We're constantly following up, and then just, a soft close. There's people with these like mic drop type things where they close people right away. I don't have that. I have like a lot of really boring conversations, and, but touching base, like, hey, do you want to maybe go look at properties? Just, softly trying to close them every time I have that conversation. And then just acknowledging their timeline every time I follow up. So,
yeah.
And then when they're ready, then that's when we hand it off to the agent.
For sure. Do you always phone? Do you think phoning is the most important thing you do? I have a constant battle with some agents that want to text first. Because they believe in this world that texting works better than phone calling. And I'm of the type of person that you convert quicker by talking to them.
Right. Yeah. When you get in those long text conversations and you're just like, oh my gosh, just pick up the phone. Yeah. I still think calling is king. Most people aren't going to do it. So you have sort of that edge. I meet leads where they are, though. Like if they reply to the automated text messages, then I'll reply and communicate with them there. For sure. I'll meet them there if they start it or they reply to one of the text messages that are happening. But it's calls for sure. It's really the only way to know, are we communicating and saying the same thing, right?
Yeah. What does your call cadence look like? Lead comes in right now. You phone them within
as soon as you can. Yeah. Within that first 5 minutes, where that stat is, 21 times more likely if you call in the first 5 than 30 minutes. So we call them as soon as we can. They'll get 2 to 3 phone calls a day for the first 7 days of their life, essentially their life to us. 8 to 15, they're getting 1, sometimes 2 day calls. And then after that, it's really based more on activity. If they do something interesting, then they'll get a call. If I'm going on a 4-hour hike, then everybody gets a call. Like I throw them all in a dialer, and just doesn't matter how old they are. But it's really that first 7 days where we're hyperactive.
Right. Do you play any sort of role in client retention and relationship management after the sale?
No, not too much. Not really. We have a really great plan with our team as far as like, thank you cards and birthday cards and team events and stuff like that. So that's handled on like the marketing administrative side of the team. Not me though.
Right. What platform does your team use to generate online leads?
So primarily we use Sync or Commissions Inc. and KV Core. We have Agent Locator, though that has primarily switched over to like our website. So we get some lead gen there from like radio and things like that, but not as much.
Right.
That's it really.
Now, what does a typical day look like for you?
Well, I guess 5:28. That's when my alarm goes off. Make your bed. 5:30. I do like a 30-minute workout. And then from 6 till 7 is when I'm doing emails, lists, responding to things, updating searches, all my administrative. I'm like a mom from 7 till 8:30. And then 8:30 till 3:30, I'm exclusively dialing. I almost never stop dialing except for eating carrots because they're too crunchy to eat while you dial. And then
you don't want to be mumbling with a mouthful of food.
I definitely will eat, but yeah, carrots always crosses the line. 4 till 8 most days is I'm like mom mode again. I do dial some nights, and then 8 till 9 again is where I'm doing like, have I hit all my reminders? Did I make the dials I wanted? Or how do I set up tomorrow differently? Is all happening at nighttime. So most of my administrative stuff is done early morning or late at night, so nothing interrupts dial time.
Right. What what tools and techniques do you stay motivated and focused? Because I know that a lot of people making phone calls, it can be a soul sucking
Yeah.
uh actions to take, right?
Yeah, no, it can be. I have like the occasional breakdown. For the most part, though, I'm pretty like driven, maybe spiteful. And once you've done it, right, like the numbers works out. And so I know when I prospect, just as an ISA on a referral, it's like $150 an hour. And like why wouldn't I just do what I'm doing? Like I can prove those numbers over 7 years of tracking the calls I make, the hours I spend, how much I'm making. Like why wouldn't I just do that? Then you become addicted. I laugh about this thing how I worked out, it's like $4 every time I make a phone call. And so my kids now are super annoying. It's like, oh, can we get a Starbucks? It's like, well, you're 10. No. It's like, oh, well, just make a few phone calls, mom. So, you have to have that motivation.
Nice.
But
Nice. Your
really,
kids are
yeah,
motivating you.
pumping you up. Like, it'll be
Yeah.
great. Just make calls. No, I mean, it works and it changes so many lives, really. When you're able to bring in millions of dollars to your team just by putting in some effort and just do it, really.
What do you think the essential skills are for an ISA?
I mean, I don't think I'm overly talented. I think it's really just being persistent or consistent, I guess is the better way, because you do have to do it a lot and you have to do it often for a long period of time before it starts working out. Marginally organized. And you have to just be okay. I think people whose feelings get hurt easily, who maybe weren't tormented when they were kids, so haven't built up that stamina, they might not be good fit because they're not often. Like every once in a while, you get someone who ruffles your feathers. So someone who's going to take that personally wouldn't really be good. But no, you just have to do it. It's simple, right?
What are your goals on a daily basis? Do you have a goal of how many conversations or how many dials?
I focus on dials for daily, and that's 200. I want to hit 1,000 a week every week, regardless of like vacations and trips and stuff like that. So if I'm going away,
Wow.
I double down. I dial almost every time I go away, though. But again, I'm addicted to those numbers, and I have a fun way of justifying all my vacations I go on because if I just dial for 2 hours, I can pay, for my flight wherever I want to go. It's really good for marriage counseling material.
I was going to say.
I get to go to Portugal for the weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say, how does husband think of you
he's totally
dialing
okay,
on
yeah.
vacation?
Just time block it. Yeah, no. So it's 1,000 every week, 200 a day. So I know ahead if I'm going to miss or I'm behind, and I just circle in with myself pretty much every month and make sure I'm on where I should be for the year.
Now, can you share any training or resources that have benefited you in the past?
Yeah. So I mean, through Sync, which is one of our platforms, they have a lot of really great training, like role playing and just sort of concepts, I guess. So they're really great. Just reading books or listening to books. Fanatical prospecting. I love Jeb Blunt. He's so good.
I have that somewhere behind me.
You have it right behind you?
I think right there.
Oh, yeah. It was really
Fanatical
good.
Prospecting is an amazing, amazing book. And I highly suggest if anybody's listening to that thinks that they would like to get into inside sales or sales in general, read that book.
So good. His Outbound conference is really great too. I don't know if you've ever been to it. It's insane.
I have not.
It's in San Antonio, Texas this year in November. It's really great. So anyway, so that was a good book. The one thing that was good for Keller, any of those books are great just for improving your skills. There's a couple podcasts that Smart Inside Sales, he does a lot of inside sales coaching and stuff like that. They're really great. I mean, it's really just doing it. It's just doing it, right? And making sure once you have the basics.
Yeah, and being very aware, like when you make a phone call, analyze it in your brain. Okay, what did I do? How could I do it better? Now, do you have any kind of mentorship where, maybe you have a mentor that overlooks your calls and says, hey, this is what I think you could do?
Right. Not so much for inside sales. No. I mean, I have Jen in my life and she's so great. Sometimes too great. But as far as a mentor, yeah, I would say from a business, there's her. And, I bounce off a lot with my husband. He has a good business too. So, yeah, I'm maybe not the best person to ask those things. I just do it. So,
That's good. You
yeah,
learn along the way. You really build the rocket ship as
yeah.
you're going to Mars, right? That's the goal. So now, how do you evaluate a lead when it comes in and prioritize, maybe some different sources?
Right. So the sources coming in, they're not so much like I don't prioritize it that way. Contact validity, obviously, like if it's a real number, saying that we have a whole thing for people that come in with fake numbers, but really it's just age and activity. If they're newer, they get the most attention. If they're active, then they get the next most amount of attention. And smoking them out with different marketing efforts to try and see who seems a little more interested. But those are pretty much our strategies.
How do you identify a high quality lead versus a low quality?
Yeah, I guess probably the same, right? Just it's how long has it been there? Are they active? Do they actually have contact information? I know that there's like scoring systems, but I don't really necessarily agree on their algorithms. I've had some, the systems do all these really smart computer things
Yeah.
and then tell you. And then it's like, I have ones that have like a score of 23 out of 100 that bought a $2 million property. And it's like, well, I'm glad I didn't take your advice. And so it's just numbers. It's just like a
Yeah.
numbers game. Just
And nothing does better than, good old fashioned phone call and a nice
yeah,
conversation with
cool.
people, right?
Yeah, for sure.
How do you identify that lead when they're ready to be passed off?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, the vast majority would be booked to see specific properties. We've nurtured them to that point. So it's a silver platter. There are some maybe first-time home buyers where we'll pitch this idea of a market experience. So maybe it's a little earlier than they're ready. But we know that closing ratio for people who work with the first agent that they meet was 67% or something.
Yeah.
So as soon as I can get them to meet an agent, the better. It just really helps fight off the competition, especially with online leads. They're on multiple sites. So the sooner, the better. If it's too soon, I start to get suspicious though. But you do want to go out? We
Yeah.
just met.
Yeah.
So, so it's pretty much, it's like as soon as they want to see a property, if they're going to do this market experience as a first time home buyer, a lot of cottage people, they're searching at a bunch of different lakes. So I'll pitch those on, Friday, do a lot of text message like, hey, looks like a nice weekend. If you want to just come check out what Pigeon Lake is like or what Simcoe is like, trying those ones. And then I'll get agents in and let them know kind of where we are on that process.
What is a market experience tour?
It's really just a fancy way of saying, do you want to go look at houses in your price range, even though you're not quite ready? But then they can meet with the agent and really talk about what the process is like. That's where they'll learn they really do want to be with a mortgage broker. They're going to need to put a down payment down. Here's what happens if you do buy. We do a home inspection. Things that they might not know and you don't find out till you're there. So it just kind of helps take away the jitters of buying a first house.
Yeah. Get them out, get them into the market.
Yeah, get them
I
excited.
always
Right?
I always tell my agents to get them out, show them their top 3 homes that they picked from the search that you set them up on. And we as humans are the absolute worst at delayed gratification, right?
Yeah.
So when it's twofold that I think when you get a person out, a buyer out, you develop a relationship faster with the
Yeah.
agent. And 2, it shortens their
Right.
buying
Exactly. Yeah.
window because most often they see something that really works for them. And
Yeah.
us as humans, we want everything now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What questions do you ask a lead in order to qualify them?
Yeah. So I don't do a whole lot of qualification again, because the goal is to get them in front of the agents who I know are going to be performing at their best when they do meet. I confirm, that they aren't working with a realtor already. And as far as like, have they had a chance to speak with a mortgage broker? If they're not pre-approved, we're still meeting them. The agents are still going to meet them. I'll start the process though with one of our mortgage brokers that we've worked with at that exact time. Like, okay, I have you booked with Colin for Thursday at 4:00. In the meantime, here's, 3 great mortgage brokers that we work with. It's a good time to start the process would be now. It takes a few weeks to get things going, things like that. That's pretty much it. Like, you want to make sure that there's a motivation, that they actually aren't just going out for no reason. But it's the odds are so much better if I get them out in person than overqualifying them on the phone.
What's the number one objection do you handle?
Right now, you mean?
Yeah.
I guess waiting. Just, I want to wait and see what the market does.
And you and I both know that waiting is the worst thing to do.
It's no good. Yeah. It's just bringing them back to, totally understand, what prompted you to start looking originally. Like remind them of that. Like, has that changed? No. Your wife still wants a ensuite? Yeah. Okay. So do you want to go and look at some houses with ensuites this weekend? And,
and see, just get them out there without any like saying that they have to buy it. We're just looking at homes.
Yeah.
Now, if a lead is not ready, what strategies do you use to follow up with them down the line to get them and touch base with them to get them to be ready?
It's just a mix of emails and text messages circling in, and always if their timeline, that drives me bonkers. And I apologize if you do it. They're like, oh, they're not going to buy for 2 years, so I'll call them in a year. That like I'll just cut that time in half. Like that's some great strategy that someone came up with.
That's the worst.
It really is. So it's just a series of that. I would say I would never go a quarter without communicating with someone. It's probably every month in some capacity. If it's a call, a text, or an email. If they have a property to sell, it's always that pitch. Like, even if we're a year out, the best thing we could do is have an agent come over, no fee or obligation, just do a quick walkthrough and help create that honey-do list. That way, when the time comes in a year, we're not all rushing around, scramble, trying to fix it up. Let's get that started now to net you the most, which is genuine. That is the best way to do it, instead of finding a perfect property and then rushing to get your house looking great, or worse, selling it when it doesn't look great. So that's not an easy, but that's a good reason to have an agent out. It's a good, genuine reason. Let them know what it's like. What can they be doing over the next year till they are ready? And I think it's, there's that photocopy study. I don't know how accurate it is. Like if you ask if you can bud the line, and then if you have a say, yeah, but can I, because, and even if it's a dumb reason, just following up like, oh, the weather's nice. Do you want to go look at houses? Or, it's almost Christmas. Do you want to go look at houses? It's just having that. And sometimes they bite and then sometimes they don't. And that's okay. It's okay if it takes longer, as long as they eventually use me, and they will. For the most part, like I won't lose them because I didn't follow up enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
They might think I'm crazy and not use me, but it won't be because I didn't try.
How often, how do you balance the, being respectful for their time, but still, being somewhat persistent?
Yeah. That's probably always just acknowledging it at the beginning. I know, Colin, you said your timeline isn't for another year. I'm just making sure that the emails are looking okay still. You don't want me to adjust the frequency. So acknowledging it at the beginning. So they're not, if I'm not just like, hey, Colin, do you want to look at properties every time? And you're like, I told you it's a year, you'll get annoyed. So if I bring that up at the beginning, and I mean, you kind of just go with your gut. If every time I call a lead, they're super annoyed with me, then I'll push it off a little bit, or maybe switch it up and send an email and a text message. So I don't think I'm never really rude.
And that's the biggest thing that holds a lot of people back, is that fear of am I being annoying or am I not?
I would
annoying. You know. What are the best practices for maintaining regular communication with your?
Definitely a CRM. So I couldn't imagine doing it without something that's really organized. And then if there's a way, depending what system, is every Saturday and Sunday morning, I'm going through and checking, is anyone on my system that's not either in an automated campaign? So if somebody's like a mediocre lead, they'll be in the world of automation. But is there anyone who's not there that doesn't have a reminder? And it's amazing how thorough I feel like I am, and how every week I catch leads sitting there that don't have a reminder set, that I'm like, crap, I talked to them and I forgot to do something with them. Especially I'm a big multitasker. So I'll be dialing and think I'll remember, right? We always have big plans. So so I have that filter, or I have that set. So every weekend I'm filtering out, making sure someone has a reminder. Like, is something happening with everyone who's in my database? So
yeah. So what are some of your key performance indicators, KPIs, that you track and measure?
Yeah. So the main
know
one,
that you're succeeding, right?
right. Yeah. The main one is, so for my dials, I've probably become too comfortable with that. The dials and the deals. I'm also, though, making sure, am I having enough conversations? So 1 in 10 people should be picking up my calls at the average there for the week. And so if I'm finding, well, I check every day on that. If I'm finding that the number is too high or too low, then I'll double check. Like, is my number being caught as spam? Do I need better list? Like, are there bad numbers on my list that I don't know about, which sometimes can happen when you're using a dialer? So I'll go through and then maybe start calling them manually to make sure to see if that's what's happening. So yeah, I guess calls, what did I say? Calls, appointments, and then, appointments. Yeah. Calls, answers, and then appointments. And now that's important as either a team lead or the lead for the ISA. Because if you're giving, one agent and they're a 1 in 10 closing ratio and another one is 1 in 4, I mean, it's costing you twice as much money to keep giving it to that person. So you want to give them breathing room and not look at it, monthly, but big picture. It takes a little time to pivot, to learn from that, but they should be like at least a 1 in 5 closing ratio from an online lead appointment. So just checking those and making sure it looks okay.
1 to 5% is pretty good for online leads.
From a booked appointment to a closed deal. Yeah. So 5 new leads should generate a deal.
Wow.
Should.
That's good.
We've had a lot of, learning curves. So
I'm sure you have. How do you, like you said, you had a lot of learning. How do you use those metrics to improve yourself?
Yeah. So a big one was looking, and it's probably not as frequent, but I do think of this whole department, I guess, as like a big picture. So it's really more like an annual and semi-annual reflection. During COVID, I know it took 800 dials to get a deal. And then last year it was 1,200 dials to get a deal, which is a huge jump. So our improvement was like, do we need better leads or more leads? Do we need to be doing better marketing campaigns to find who's looking? Is it just that's what's happening in real estate right now and people are more hesitant and this is all going to show up in 2 years' time or something? So just kind of trying new tweaks and stuff. And at the end of the day, in like September last year, I was just like, just throw down. So I doubled down on my calls every day. My ears were like ringing because I was calling so much. But I grew, which was if I don't grow 15% every year, it's like, would I even show up? So I did make more, which was like, I just had to win. But it took a lot of heart and soul to get there. But that was just because I'm watching these numbers and I'm like, I don't know, I can't improve this ratio. I can't seem to get more appointments based on what I'm like doing. The same thing isn't changing. And I tried and it just, whatever, just do what you got to do. Right. So for that was just dialing a crap load more.
Yeah. Just upping the number of dials. Now, you said you tried to make, or you do hit 200 a day. And at a 1 to 10, you're getting maybe 20 people on a phone call per day, having 20 conversations.
Yeah.
Now, from those 20 conversations, how many appointments are you booking with an agent?
So the average for me for last year was 25 conversations for 1 appointment. And then the average ended up being the 1 in 5 for the closing ratio, which is a good ratio. We've done a pretty good job nurturing them. Like they're pretty ready when they get there. I find it surprising that I would say of the 4 to 5 that didn't, 2 of those 5 are probably going to show up at a later day. And then two just won't, which is fine. So it was about 25 conversations to get an appointment.
Wow. So what are some of the common challenges that you face as an inside sales agent in lead generation?
I mean, just your basic objections and the market. It's, gosh, I wish you could change the market and you can't. And just doing those numbers, like showing up every day and dialing. It can be. Those are probably the biggest challenges that you have. Dealing with getting enough, right? Finding enough depends on your personality. I feel like I'm personally responsible for finding everybody's appointments, and a challenging year, and you're looking at agents and they're not making what they thought they would make, and you just it's, if you care, you want them to succeed. And so that's a challenge. And also convincing the people that you're talking on the phone, like, they are in the best hands with us. And it's almost like a disservice if I don't convince them. You need to work with the Jennifer Jones team. This is the best team for covering the Lake Simcoe area. If you're not able to get that across, everyone loses. Everyone.
How do you handle that rejection? Like, what's the best thing that you can do?
I mean, just try and win another way. I'm pretty like, damn it. Just get back at it, I guess. I don't know.
What lesson did you learn from these rejections?
I mean, it's just a numbers game, I guess. I don't know that I take it. I shouldn't say I don't ever. Like I said, September, I just melt down because I wasn't where I thought we should be. No, and then it was just, all right, well, it is what it is. I can't change it. And the only thing I could do is work harder at this point. Yeah, I guess that was just the lesson.
Yeah. Do you think it's a reflection on what or how you're doing, or can it be a reflection of the market?
Yes. However, we're so mindful with our words and excuses on our team that I can't blame the market, right? It's not. Yes, the market made it more challenging. The problem was I didn't show up to the challenge and make 1,200 phone calls a week. Instead, I was relying on my cushy 800 a week that I had been making the 3 previous years, right? And so the market just made it a little more challenging. That wasn't its fault, though. It was me not responding fast enough.
Would you say that more phone calls is the thing that cures all?
No and yes. I mean, until I have a better solution, right? I was more focused on the outcome and was willing to do whatever it takes. Do I think I could do more phone calls this year? I think that would be maybe more challenging than I'm looking to do. And I'm hoping numbers stay the way they are and everything works out great.
Yeah. And you talked a little bit about, melting down in September or whatever. How do you guard yourself from, like your mental well-being? How do you take care of that?
Yeah. I mean,
while hitting KPIs, right?
Right. Yeah. I think surrounding yourself with the right people. I find, and you said you're introverted, so maybe you're the same way. I find energies of those people that are just, oh, the market's horrible, and they're just so negative, and they like victims. I find that so draining to be with, and so I just don't surround yourself with those people, and instead focus on the people who are like, so much opportunity. This is such a great chance. And like, now we can really service the clients we have and show up at higher levels because we're not as busy as we were. And, finding those positives it's probably the best way to protect your mindset. And I always just go back to focusing on those numbers. Like, this is challenging and this works. I just need to keep going with it.
Yeah, I would, in respect to what you said about surrounding yourself with the right people, I always say that there's 2 types of people in the world. There's people that are players, that are in life to play the game of life. Mm-hmm. And then there's people who see themselves victims, the game of life, right?
Yeah.
And those people will suck you dry. You want to be around the players, right?
100%.
People that are loving life and they're in it to play and have a good time, and understand and taking that accountability that you are 100% in control of everything that goes on.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
100%. There's what's that? Extreme ownership. I think that's just
Yeah.
like a good simple book.
Jocko.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have to listen
Yeah.
to it. Don't read it because it's got that
Yeah.
voice.
Oh, you have to hear extreme ownership in
Yeah.
Jocko's voice.
And yeah, never split the
My
difference. That's another one you have to listen to. You can't read it because
yeah.
their voices. But yeah, that's just like a good simple one to be like, just own it. It's yours. Like no one's going to get me out of this hole other than me, and stop relying on someone else and dial more, or figure out how to get better, find more
100%.
leads. Right. So that's,
After listening to that and always listening, to what Jocko says, whenever anybody has a problem, I cannot help but say to them, good. And I hear it in Jocko's voice. Good. You have a problem? Good.
oh, it's so funny.
And anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about,
Listen.
go back, listen to some Jocko's podcast or listen to him breeding extreme ownership, and you will get what I'm saying. So what advice would you give to someone who's looking to start a career as an inside sales agent?
Oh, just do it. Like, yeah, it's just so cool. I mean, I think it's so awesome if this is what you're into, to get to design your life. I say it like I don't end up working way more hours and work evenings and weekends and stuff, but I'm doing it because I'm choosing to. And it's not, I'm not running around doing things. I love that I can do it while I'm hiking, when I'm at home, when I'm doing all those things. So I would just say figure out your logistics after. I know I talked to somebody last week and it was like, well, what about the agent? And how do I find an agent in this area? I'm like, just find the appointment. Do the heart, like that field of dreams. Like if you have an appointment, that you don't worry about the rest. Okay. We'll find agents in that area for you. Go through Google reviews, go through your brokerage. That's not the problem. Just pick up the phone and just start calling. Just listed, just sold. It's essentially free to get started doing that. It's not rocket science. It's not easy, but it's simple, and just start doing it. And it takes time. I guess that would be good advice. Like you're not going to get paid tomorrow. Even best case scenario, if you called them and they bought today, you're still a couple months before you get paid. So you have to have that long game plan. But you build it almost like those insurance, like an annuity. I know I have those leads that are all going to show up this year from effort I put in 3-4 years ago, and it just keeps building, right? So it's just do it. It's so cool.
Are there any pitfalls to avoid?
Yeah. I mean, not really. I guess pivot quickly with agents, especially if you're not on a team and you're but if you're an ISA and you're not committed and you're calling to different agents, like pivot quickly. If they're not responding and giving you follow-up after you've booked them an appointment, that drives me nuts. I had to chase somebody today, which you shouldn't, right? They're not on our team, and I gave them a silver platter home evaluation. And I sent an email like, hey, how did it go? And they didn't reply. And then I'm like, it's weird. So then I text like a few days later, hey, how did it go? And didn't reply. I'm like, come on. And then apologized now 11 days later. Like, oh, sorry, I was busy. It went well. I'm like, don't burn those bridges. But anyway, so pivot, right? Pivot quickly. Also, if they're not showing up or they're canceling and not doing feedback, then you just have to find a better person. That you want someone who is showing up the same way that you are, so your leads can feel comfortable, right? That it's reliable. It's the same thing that I've been experiencing on the phone is the same that I'm getting when I show up and meet them to look at a house.
How can somebody with no prior sales experience succeed in this role?
Yeah, I think you have to be just good at having conversations and somewhat organized. So you wouldn't need sales. Just find a good script that works for you and start making those calls. Maybe listen to some of those books and podcasts that we've talked about for tips, but don't not start until you finish reading those books and podcasts and stuff. Start today, right now. Try. You know how many people they'd answer when I first started, and I would hang up because I was too afraid to even talk to them, or it'd be going well, and then I would hang up because I was just terrified about any of it. All of it was so scary. That was okay. I just kept going. Eventually I'll stop hanging up on these people, or I'll have to go back to waitressing. Something will happen. One of those are going to
What are some actionable tips that you can share with our listeners to improve their lead generation efforts?
Actual tips. So I guess if you're doing online is constantly making sure that your words, your areas, everything is in line, but allow them, I'm not the expert, so I just kind of touch base with them and make sure everything looks okay. Tips, I would guess, stay organized, especially if you're an agent and if you're calling around the just listed, just sold, and you're door knocking, keeping it all on track so you're not like duplicating what you're doing or upsetting people by, calling them, door knocking, and they've already told you no in various ways. That's probably the best. Just start actually doing it. Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about teams and whatnot, but how can a solo real estate agent without any real prior marketing experience get started with effective lead generation?
I would start with the just listed, just sold, buyers looking in the area. They don't have to be your listing. It could be your team's listing or your brokerage listing or really your real estate board's listing. So there's no barriers for entering and it's easy. Most brokerages offer that telelisting service for free or next to nothing. Yeah, it's pretty simple. I would just do that.
Nice. Now, getting into some final thoughts, do you have any final thoughts or insights that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I mean, I keep saying it, but just start doing it. I love once you get comfortable. For me, the biggest change that's happened to me over the last couple of years was a dialer on my cell phone and like moving around and doing things while I'm making my prospecting calls. And so those are only on the calls that I've never talked to them before. So their script is the same if they're a day old or 4 years old. I'm going to say that same thing because it's our first initial conversation. And then doing that has taken all that like painstakingness of sitting at your desk prospecting away. If it's like a 4-hour hike with my dog, if it's doing laundry or just things about the house, doing stuff like that, I think it's such a game changer. And I think agents, especially, they're not people who would normally want to sit at a desk from 9 to 5. So if you take that away, that would honestly, it's such a game changer. So I would do that. And then time blocking, I guess, making sure that you're not allowing anything to interrupt when you are prospecting. If you're an agent and you're prospecting for yourself, treat that 1 or 2 hours a day like it's a showing, like nothing should interrupt it. And you just have to be consistent with it. And you get
You
paid
use the
so much money.
sorry.
No, that's fine. I'm like, you get paid so much money to do it. I think it works out if you're for an agent in a $700,000 to $800,000 average price range. It's over $500 an hour is what prospecting works out to for a real estate agent. And it's like you can be in pajamas, the messy buns going on, and making crazy money. So it's like, gosh, just like this is your business. Do it. Advocate for yourself. Get out there.
Yeah,
So.
it's actually quite incredible if you can break it down. And I think that's what's super important is to break down to dollar figure per hour that you're making, because then that can really, really motivate people when you see that.
It should
what dialer do you use?
So right now I'm using the Sync dialer. I normally, for the last 6 years, have used the Mojo dialer. In fact, I named my dog Mojo. So I always think like, if you're wondering how into this I am.
you are in deep.
Yeah. I came home with this giant fuzzy rescue mutt and I'm like, and I named it Mojo. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, being a dog person myself. Can you share your opening script with us?
Yeah.
Pretend that I am a lead and I just signed up on your website.
Oh, ring.
Hi there.
Hi, it's Courtney from the home search site. I was following up. You'd been online looking at some properties and was just seeing if you're planning to move in the next 6 months or just browsing.
I'm just browsing.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's exactly what that site's for. Was there anything specific that prompted you to start browsing?
We just wanted to see what places are going for in our area.
Awesome. So you're living in the Simcoe area now?
Yeah, I sure am.
Awesome. Okay. Would you have to sell that house in order to make a move?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. And what would you be looking for in your new home?
More size.
Oh,
But
bigger.
again, I'm just, you know what? I'm just looking.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Well, why don't I set this search up for you? So would you need 3 bedrooms then, and you just kind of keep going with it, asking questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Getting that LP mama down, right?
yeah, yeah. Just
getting,
keep
getting that
asking
down.
those questions, and yeah, the point at the original is like the just browsing. It's like they think that's their form of no,
Yep.
but then it
Smoke
kind of
screen.
paints them into a little bit of, and it really is truth serum. They really do. Once you say what prompted you, then all of a sudden they're like, well, here it is. Yeah, just keep asking questions and why, and keep going. Pretty passive.
Yeah. And to be honest, that's our agents. That's probably the number one objection right off the bat. We're just browsing, and it's the same thing. Like people that work in any retail. You walk into a clothing
Oh,
store, somebody comes up, can I help you with something? No, I'm just browsing. And it's how you take that objection, deal with it, and
yeah,
move on to get their motivation, what they're
right.
looking for, actually, right?
It's so true. And the retail store is such a great, and then you're like there, I always say it. I say it too, just browsing. Like, what I really want is like a personal shopper. No, I'm browsing and I need you to help me, but I won't say it. And
Yep.
we're the same way, right? So, just prod a little bit.
Yep. And keep moving forward. We're near the end of our hour here together. It's gone by really quickly and has been very, very interesting because I'm slightly obsessed with this, talking to people and helping people even more. So what is the best way if somebody wants to get in connection with you?
Well, I've just started on Instagram now. So it's, how do I say it? At ISA_today_. I think that's it.
Beautiful. I will have that in the show notes. So if anybody wants to get a hold of Courtney, pick her mind about the world of inside sales and maybe learn a little bit more, they can follow you on Instagram. That's where you and I met. And I loved what you were doing on there because it was so different and very, very informative for the direction that myself and my team are moving in. So I want to thank you for that. And thank you again for being on the podcast. It's been a bit of a different conversation, but I think it's one that even the new beginning agent can take note of and understand that more phone calls equals more deals.
Yes. So great.
So thanks so much, Courtney. We'll wind this up, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks.
Take care. Thank you so much for listening to Total Agent Access. Head on over to iTunes, hit subscribe. While you're there, leave us a review. 1 star is okay, but 5 stars is even better.